I was going to wait until more additional information about this story came out, but I said if I continue to wait, I probably will never receive anything about it outside of the post on Facebook that I have seen floating around. Now, the person in this picture's name is Danye Jones, and recently, and I believe it was like a week and a half ago, he was found hanging in his backyard. Like he was hanging. I think it appeared to be. It looked like he was hung from a sheet or something to that effect, and he had something around his ankles. It looked like a towel of some sort, and whatnot. And he was found dead. Yes, in 2018, there are still people being lynched as if this was 100. Shoot, maybe not even 100. Probably a little over 50, 60 years ago. And mainstream media has not uttered one word about this case. Like if you was to type Danye's name into the Google search engine, the only thing you'll find about him is stuff that people on YouTube, what they have said about it. It's mostly black YouTubers who speak about the stuff that I talk about, who are saying something. And you might find a little article here and there, but nothing from major media outlets. But you know what? I don't expect them to say much of anything because I know what they're going to do with this story. They're going to say that he committed suicide. He hung himself, the same old thing. I said, if a black person is going to commit suicide, they're not going to do it by lynching themselves. But they love to do that because they want it to be an open and shut case. Now, when I was doing some more, research, it turns out that his mother was an activist, and I believe he was doing the activist thing along with her and other friends and family members. So they had a target on their back automatically. This reminds me so much of what happened with Darren Seals. Like he was shot in the head, and then they found his body burnt up in a car, and then they tried to say that was a suicide. They love to say that whenever a black person who was speaking truth to power ends up dead mysteriously, quote unquote, that it was a suicide. But they are found in positions that would more look like a homicide rather than a suicide, more like a brutal murder. Like you tell me, you know anybody who shoots themselves in the head and burns themselves up in the car afterwards. That's just as ridiculous as the story I heard about the black guy that was in the back of the cop car and shot himself in the head while he was handcuffed with his hands behind his back. Now, first off, how are you going to do that? And how in the world would you have a gun in the cop car and you're under arrest? So it's like, who knows what kind of story they're going to come up with next, to describe this individual's death. And he was young. Like he was young. I believe he was born in 93. So he was in his he was like what 25, I believe, if my math is correct. So he was like, mid 20s, had his whole life ahead of him. Somebody out there did something. And I was reading the comments of somebody who spoke about this, and they left a comment, and I forgot all about it. But remember when the NAACP had said something that they basically tried to declare Missouri, because this is where this happened at, a like no-fly zone or something like a no-go zone for black people because of the intense racism that happens there? I said it all makes sense now. And they tried to say that they were crazy for even saying such a thing. But when you look at something like this, it all makes sense. Now, I'm showing this picture because I know that YouTube would probably flag the video if I showed the actual picture that he was hung. And another reason, I can't bear to look at that picture again. Like, the picture of him hanging is out there floating around on the internet. And I've seen it quite a few times, and I'm tired of seeing it. Not because I don't want to see it anymore, but it's just hard to watch. Like, it's like really hard to look at. I cannot look at that image anymore. So that's why I'm using this picture right here, where it looks like, it was a more better time. But my condolences go out to him and his family, and I hope they do not stop the fight and investigation to find out who was involved with this, because he did not commit suicide. I'm telling you that right now. There is no way in hell you can convince me that this guy killed himself. At least not in the way that he was found dead, like by hanging. Come on. Like, did they really expect us to believe that he hung himself to death? No. I don't believe it at all. Like, he was found hanging from a tree with a sheet around his neck and something around his ankles to make sure that he couldn't get down on that struggle. Now, I noticed that his arms were free, but it looked like something was tied around his ankles. All I'm saying is this: somebody put him there, and there's a reason why they did it, or it could not have been. But like I said, when you are activist and you're out there like that, there's always going to be a target on your back. But as Black people, we need to be very, very diligent right now. At this point, we can't even afford to be by ourselves, especially at night, or even in broad daylight, for that matter. You have to be very aware of all of your surroundings at all times, or as they say, keep your head on the swivel, because you never know what dangers are lurking out there at this current time. But that's really all I have to say about this. Hopefully there's going to be some more updates to come. Like I said in the beginning, I don't expect mainstream media to speak on this at all. If they haven't talked about it by now, they won't, because remember, he was found like this. I believe they said on October 16th. That's when he was pronounced dead. It is now October 30th. We're talking what, 16 days later? Almost. Well, yeah. Let me about 6:15. It's days later. Let's just put it like that. They didn't talk about it then, but we're just now finding out about it. That pretty much is going to conclude this video. The links will be in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one.